There is some absolutely amazing news with Overwatch. We now have AMD FSR 2.2 now available as an option in the game. I'm running this through Boosteroid right now, so I'm reusing cloud gaming. I'm on the Paris server, and we're going to test AMD FSR 2.2 for the first time. And I have my render scale set to 67% at the moment. That's the maximum, and we're going to see how well it works. Does it look good? This is such an amazing moment. So FSR 2.2, and this is 67% render scale. It does look a little bit less sharp. I would prefer DLSS 3 or DLSS 2 personally, because I have an NVIDIA card on my gaming laptop. But this is really great, because it means for low-end PCs you get AMD FSR 2.2. It's just such a huge thing, basically, because it means you can have less stress on your computer. It's great to see Overwatch doing the good upgrades like this. I love seeing this. It makes me really happy. Yeah, everything looks pretty detailed and sharp. And remember, I'm using Boosteroid, which is a cloud gaming service. So I don't really need to use FSR. But when I play this on my Mac natively through Crossover, then it's probably going to come in handy. Because in that case, I really do need to rely on FSR. Let's see if it's in the patch notes. Let's have a quick look at the patch notes, because I had no idea until I checked the graphics settings. But this is just so cool. I love that they've added this. It's not in the patch notes. That's very interesting. Okay, I would have expected such a big thing to be inside of the patch notes, but I guess not. So let's see what happens if I lower the render resolution all the way down to the very lowest. This is 50% render scale, so you can't actually go lower than that, but this is going to be how it looks. Let's put the sharpening down a bit. This is how it is by default, I think. And yes, it's you can tell there's a lot of blur, and there's this kind of strange fizzling effect. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a fizzle or a aliasing, I guess. I'm not sure what it would be called, but the image looks a bit flickery, kind of. I think that's the effect of the FSR. Because remember, this is AI using... Actually, it's not using AI, I don't think. It's just using an upscaling algorithm, like pretty sophisticated upscaling algorithm. It makes me really happy to see FSR. I hope it would be possible to use it on my Mac. I think it is, probably. The good thing about FSR as compared to DLSS is that it doesn't have the requirement of proprietary hardware. You don't need NVIDIA card. You can have any kind of graphics card, I think. I think even Intel might support FSR. I'm not sure about that. I know Intel has Intel XeSS, so it has its own type of upscaling algorithm. I don't know if Overwatch would support that. But I think it can. I think even with an Intel integrated card, you can also use FSR. But I could be mistaken about that. But yeah, it's very widely supported, and this also means it can be used on the consoles like Xbox and PS5. And again, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I imagine even with the PS5 you'd be able to use it. So that's really cool, as well as with an Xbox. So maybe you could get 120 FPS more easily, but that doesn't actually allow you to change the settings, so I don't think you would be able to change settings inside of the console game settings, because with console it usually just gives you a pre-made kind of setting. But it would be useful if you're running in performance mode, then you would want that. But you wouldn't want it if you were running on the 60 FPS, because I don't think you would get much benefit from the 4K 60 FPS. Maybe you would actually. Maybe if you ran it at 4K high resolution mode, then it could use a upscaling from 1440p or 1080p. So now I'm going to change to 100% render resolution, and you can see if there's any difference. This Rhine is pretty aggressive, I like it. So now if I change to AMD or even default, if I go back to default and I put 100%, then let's see how different it looks. So yeah, it does look pretty much sharper. It looks a lot sharper. There is a big difference. So FSR is not as good as DLSS, I don't think. It's still pretty good. It could depend on what hardware you're using as well, because the graphics card I'm using here is the NVIDIA Grid RTX 6012. This is what Boosteroid comes with. It's a pretty good graphics set. This is like used for cloud servers and things like that. It's not really a consumer grade graphics card. It's more of an industry server grade. So now let's try putting the graphics all the way up, or maybe up to 160%. And then if we... Okay, so now FSR is completely... Yeah, it's on the default. But I have no FSR at the moment. I wonder if there's any other under the hood improvements they've made, because this is not in the patch notes at all. You can't see anything about FSR mentioned in the patch notes, actually. I like the rain effect of this map. But yeah, you can see here, it's looking much sharper when you turn the render scale up. I can tell for sure. But it's still going to have a big performance impact if you don't have a good graphics card. And I'm using my MacBook, so I might install it again on Crossover. And there has been another really big development with Crossover. You can now patch Apple Game Porting Toolkit into Crossover with the CX Patcher. I recommend watching Andrew Desai's video on the CX Patcher and the Apple Game Porting Toolkit. So I'm thinking I'm going to get Crossover probably soon. Then I can install on my Mac. The only thing is it does require macOS Sonoma. It might work with macOS Ventura, but I don't think I'd get as much performance. So I'll have to check that out. Right now I'm on macOS Monterey, so I'm still on macOS 12. I don't really like updating to beta versions of an OS because they tend to have bugs and things. But the thing with the new Apple game porting toolkit being integrated into Crossover is really great. From what I've seen, the performance is flawless, or near flawless, with Overwatch, and the stuttering is completely gone, and the most important thing, that the game interface elements are all visible, because normally when you use Crossover, they're not visible with a Mac. Might be something to do with the translation software, because you have to use DXVK. So this D3D metal that Apple game porting toolkit implements means that probably allows you to render the interface elements. And there's another great piece of news for Boosteroid, which I'm showing here in the video. We're using Boosteroid to play this game. It's going to have native Apple Silicon support, meaning that it will have instead of the universal binary, it will have a universal binary, so I think it will still support Intel. Right now it's using the Intel Rosetta version, so it's translating using Rosetta from Intel instructions to ARM instructions. But they're going to give us a native ARM metal for M1 and M2 version of the application, so it'll be an Apple Silicon application. This match is pretty intense, I have to say. Something interesting about Overwatch as well is we're on version 2.5 right now. So it's basically the developers are sort of saying we're on the halfway to Overwatch 3. If you think about it like that, we are halfway to the next version, halfway to Overwatch 3.0, if we're on version 2.5 right now. I really like the state that Overwatch is in right now, actually. Other people have a lot of complaints. I personally don't really have many complaints at the moment. But yeah, this is Overwatch. Highly recommend playing the game and checking it out. I haven't been playing much recently. There wasn't much really for me to check out. I don't have any major complaints, but I just kind of got bored of it, I guess, or burned out, kind of. Yeah, that's the Overwatch. Great, we're getting this upgrade. Thank you for watching.